Hello friends, let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum's done very well. It's done more or less what we kind of spoke about it doing potentially. As we can see here, just zooming in on the 4-hour time frame to looking at the symmetrical triangle that we had, the chat yesterday, the measured move, all that jazz. That's all happened. Where we find ourselves right now is right at the top of that measuring stick. We'll just get rid of it, in fact. We've done that part now, and now we're looking at this, upward sloping parallel channels type thing, operating as a bit of resistance for us. Are we going to make it back into this area here that we were in before, or will we find the resistance coming in around about here? So I think we've done a good job so far. Yet again, in terms of the technical analysis on this one, so that's lovely, and I'm glad that all the Rocky Outcrop opticians are benefiting from that. If you take value from these videos, by the way, you can feel free to hit the subscribe button or even the join button if you're crazy like that. And and we've come up towards these top areas. Now, if we look over towards the left, this is where we're getting to the point. If I go up to a bigger time frame, this is where we get to the point, where we ask the question about, will we be going up into these heady zones, the highs, where the pricing in terms of BitMEX only ever really spent a really, really short period of time there. If we look back there, this started on sort of the start of August, and by the time we got to the end of the first week in August, we were down below these prices that we're at right now, almost to never return here ever again. We did come up briefly in June 2019 to then sink off again. So right now you can tell that we're at a key point in the market. I think it's very, very obvious to see that. So the VPVR disappears, which means that we've got our sort of backup chart on the go. And if we do move up into the sort of the no man's land on the BitMEX up here towards the 400s, then we can look over here towards the Coinbase chart, for instance, where you can see we've got a Fibonacci drawn in from its highs up at $1.5 grand down to its subsequent lows down here at $70. Did it go down lower this time or this time? It was lower the first time, right? Yeah, but still got really close again, and then it's come up towards where we are just now. Kind of looking at a few different little things here. Can't really remember why I had this little drawn on here, but I'll just get rid of it for now. Sure, and yeah, this is what we're looking at. So, are we doing this with any divergence? Well, in 24-hour time frame, so far we're not. Besides, you'd have to have a local high in there to make that call, which we don't have just yet. You could say, unless you were to make the comparison between back over here in February, the last big high really in around Valentine's Day, and where the prices have come up to now, and draw between those two and say, is it divergence? And you could say that we've got this waning of momentum versus what we saw in terms of the move up. Now, rather than even just talking about this in terms of divergence, how about we just talk about this in terms of looking at the structure in the market as we're moving towards the top side, and how this was kind of healthy. Then we came back down a wee bit, just kind of reset the oscillator a little bit, went on for another stab at things, moved towards the top side with all that gusto, etc., and that momentum, and it felt like that at the time. Right now, what we've done here is we've just kind of popped right through all of this stage. We didn't really do any stair stepping along the way. We just popped up from where we were before. Of course, we did stair stepping up towards this time, but then after a period of sideways, we used all of that sort of pent up aggression to bring us up to where we are just now. And will we see a pullback in the sense that maybe it would be healthy to have one, or do you consider this sort of little pullback that we had just before doing it to be the sort of as much health as you need, or any of these sideways areas? Is that enough as what you would need to before moving up again even higher? Bearing in mind then that the price action would have to go up to this was its all-time high, wasn't it, on the Stochastics or the RSI on this chart? Yeah, it was. That was its all-time high. It wasn't. Sorry, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, but we'd have to come up though to the very, very high areas in the RSI, just to this area. That's totally fine. Don't be paying too much attention to people who say, "Oh, we're overbought. We're really, really overbought. Therefore, the prices have to come down." That's not how these zones work. Just consider this to be the ultra, extremely, really, very, very, very bullish zone. Not that you need to FOMO into things. This is the bad time to be getting into the market compared to back over here, for instance, or any sort of pullback that you could get subsequently after parabolic type moves up towards the top side. You do consider that it's potential to get one, and just kind of looking at it from a sort of wick to wick type perspective. If the prices did drop back down below the $300 area, body to body, wick to wick makes no difference. Just talking about this $300 key area, then you could be looking then thereafter at one of these sort of Fibonacci retracements coming towards come into fruition. And when somebody asked one time, as well recently, what do you mean by cascade? You can see this you can see how this would happen if it were to fall towards the downside. Just looking at these sorts of Fibonacci type chats here, that you can see that as you go past every single one of these levels, that you're moving past chunks of action on the VPVR. It matches up there, like how you've got the 618 and the golden pocket coming in, lining up, perfectly with these areas. If you saw this happening, you wouldn't be looking across the price action in the future thinking, oh, that was a super shock. Of course, that's not, this is purely speculative at this point. But if that were to happen, then that's how you'd feel about it, looking at over to the right. And it's just good to bear these things in mind in the meantime. So that's really going to do us for today in terms of this one. If you want to hit that subscribe button, you're a superstar. If you do it, then you're great. Really appreciate it. If you even feel like you're getting so much value from these episodes that you want to hit the join button and sort of send back that value in the value feedback loop because you're trading this actively, then I would absolutely appreciate it. Just thinking about things like I've made the membership prices they're just as a sort of whatever you feel like. There's three just ways of being generous really as a person to sort of continue to send the positivity back the way that hopefully I'm putting out there into the world. Little sort of last reminder then as we tune out here from this episode that on the 4-hour time frame you're almost certainly coming in with a degree of bearish divergence across the board just there, and if you were to see turnarounds coming in then I'd want to see support picking up before this 288 area really, or else things could look kind of sketchy. You'd want to see the support coming in at 320 really, where we had a little bit of price action in the past, at least a little bit in there, or else like look at the way that this dropped down. This is as a result of coming up so quickly. Nobody really knows where you stand when the prices go between these areas. Like if you've looked at the charts for the last wee while, you'll have only really seen the 320s, 330s, 340s, 308 or whatever areas, and you'll not really have seen the prices sat around for very long at things like $310 or whatever. You'll know this yourself kind of, but maybe it helps me articulating it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. I've been Rocky Outcrop. Share with your friends, youtube.com/Rocky Outcrop. And of course, hit those buttons below for the like and subscribe and all that stuff. I really do appreciate it. Catch you next time.